Hey everybody, Kyle and Coach Cassie here. Today we're going to talk about high bar squat versus low bar squat. We're not going to tell you which one's right for you, but we're going to point out a couple key areas that might be very important for you to see. Cass, let's go ahead and have you jump under the bar for me. So we'll get a good unrack and walk out. Cassie's a high bar squatter. Now let's look from the side and note where this bar sits because it's so high on her traps. It's actually sitting right over her shoulder. As she squats, she's going to stay very upright. Go ahead and stand for me. I'll pause you in a second. Couple reps. Very upright squatter. Now pause this one for me so we can look at that torso angle. Nice and upright. Go ahead and stand and rack for me. I'm going to jump over and show a low bar squat. So if you watch one of your favorite squatters and they look like they're staying very upright, your mechanics may not allow you to squat the same way as them. If you're low bar and don't have the ability to get into that position and you're trying to maintain that amazing torso angle that she had, you're going to result in either a huge difference in your pelvis position in relationship to your rib cage by extending as I try to squat and maintaining my upright, and then when I get to the bottom of the squat, that's going to lead to a butt wink and possibly a back injury. So we'll jump on over and look at low bar squat. Cass, you can go ahead and jump in and point out the differences of where this bar sits.
So just take note that the bar, whereas with me the bar was right over my shoulders, and you can see that the bar is actually sitting behind Kyle now. So his mechanics are not going to allow him to have that upright torso. Go ahead. One thing that I find when it comes to the low bar squat, is that you can't chase a torso angle before having the hip hinge down first. If Kyle tries to have this upright torso, he is going to have to unhinge right at that low back instead of focusing on the hip hinge first. So you have to be comfortable with knowing that with the torso angle on a low bar, you do have to be a little bit more forward to keep that bar on your back.
So it's important to note that a hip hinge has to happen, but the degree that your torso is bent over in the squat might have a lot to do with your bar placement. Remember, there's a pretty big range too. Some people's low bar squats really far down on their back. Some people's high bars really up high. There's a range in there. Just like the range, the amount of angle that you will have to hinge, or sorry, that your torso will have to be bent forward after you hip hinge. Hip hinge, high bar squat, hip hinge, low bar squat. Big difference in mechanics, but the squat basics are the same. Anything to add to that?
One thing to note is that if you don't have the thoracic mobility, low bar squatting is going to be pretty difficult for you because either you're going to have to sacrifice here again because of that locked up back, or something we see is that sometimes the elbows are way winged out, or people start getting wrist issues. So you need to have that thoracic mobility first, and again, addressing your hip hinge mechanics should be your number one place before you start chasing torso and bar positioning.
Shoulder and T-spine mobility can be very important. Once again, to recap, if you're looking at a big squatter that you like to watch, don't mimic their torso position. Look at what type of squat they're doing before you try to match it. Kyle and Cassie out.